Hi, Hawaiian Shirt Coder here again for another Hawaiian Shorts. So you've got a lovely new website in production. How do you know it's working or not? Well, one way you can alleviate this problem is to introduce health checks into your websites and web APIs. Stay tuned and I'll show you how. So this Hawaiian Short will look at monitoring your website and various health checks you can put in place that's come through a couple of NuGet packages and make monitoring your system a lot easier. So in this video we will look at the following learning outcomes. How to monitor your production website, how to create a health endpoint within your website or websites, how to create a custom health check, just an example, and an option to create a quick dashboard without writing much code. So let's get to it. So I've just finished building my lovely new MVC website in ASP.NET Core using .NET 7, and here it is in all its splendour. So we put this in production and we're all happy, everything's working. But how do we know our website is working until a customer rings us up and says, I can't access anything on your site? We need to be a bit more proactive than reactive. We need to monitor our website or websites or web APIs for that matter. And with ASP.NET Core, be it an MVC site, a Razor site, a web API, a Blazor server or a Blazor WebAssembly, we can add some NuGet packages to help us monitor the health of our website. These are called health checks, and this Hawaiian Short's going to walk you through how to get these set up in your ASP projects. So let's close this a second and go back to the solution, and here you can see I have my MVC website, which is literally the template you get out of the box. So what we're going to do is we're going to enable health checks on this website. So to start with, what we need to do is go off and get some NuGet packages. So if we right click and go manage NuGet packages, click on browse, and the first one we want to search for is called ASP.NET Core healthchecks.ui. ASP.NET Core healthchecks.ui. So we need to bring that one in. Then secondly, we need to bring in another NuGet package, and this one is called ASP.NET Core.healthchecks.ui.client. ASP.NET Core.healthchecks.ui.client. So if we bring this one in as well, these are the two packages that will help us monitor our website. So once those are brought in, we can close the NuGet package window, and the next place to go is into program.cs. And because health checks are a form of middleware, we need to wire up the health check middleware into our pipeline for when the health checks will start. So first place we need to go is underneath Builder. We need to add in a new service. We go builder.services.add health checks, close bracket, and just for now that will do. We will revisit this in a minute to configure it further, and then we need to scroll down the page And further down the page, we need to add a endpoint. And the endpoint will be where we can go to see the health of our website. So basically, we're creating something like a /health endpoint, which we can type into the address bar, and it will give us the status of the website. So in order to do that, we go app.map health checks, open bracket, and then first of all it needs an endpoint, so we go / and we can give this any name we like. I'm going to call it health, and then we need to configure the endpoint with health check options. Let's just get rid of all of this, and we'll put in a using statement to make it more readable. And we'll hit a return, and then we need some curly brackets, like so. Got too many there. Tidied it up a little bit, there we go. And what we need to put in here is the following line, which is response writer equals UI response writer dot write check UI response. So let me explain what this bit does. Now what we could do is we could just purely have app map health checks /health, and that would be enough to set up a health check. But all that will do when you hit the endpoint is it will come back with a one-word response. Health checks have 3 different possible responses. They have the response healthy, they have the response unhealthy, and they have the response degraded. So healthy and unhealthy are pretty obvious. Healthy is the website is working, unhealthy is the website isn't working, degrade means it's working but it has slowed down or degraded. Now that's all it would tell us, one of those 3 words, so it doesn't give you much information on what is unhealthy. So by adding in this line, we actually get a payload, a JSON payload of data giving us more information. So we can say, oh, the website has been classed as unhealthy, and it's unhealthy because the database behind the website cannot be connected to, for example. So this is what this line does, is it allows us to output a JSON message of more details that we can use and consume. So at this point, we have enough in place to actually run our endpoint, even though we haven't actually added any custom health checks. Out of the box, if you don't add any health checks, you get the default health check, which basically acts like nothing more than a ping. Can I ping this endpoint? If I can, I'll return healthy. If I can't, I'll return unhealthy. So we're hoping we should always get healthy at this stage. So if we just fire up the site, here's our website again. Now we should be able to go /health, hit enter, and we get a JSON payload back saying the status is healthy, and it gives us how long it took to get a response from the health check endpoint. And every time we run this at the moment, it will stay healthy. The only thing will change, it may be the elapsed time to get a response. So there we go, we've got a health check. But this health check's not very interesting at the moment, because all it does is it just pings the address. So in order to determine if a website is healthy, you can introduce as many custom health check checks as you like. So for example, a website may be dependent on lots of things in the background. It may be dependent on a database. It may be dependent on another web service. It may be dependent on the local file system. It may be dependent on a cache, and so on and so on. And if any of these bits aren't working for your overall website, your website isn't really healthy. So this is where we can add in a list of checks, and this is where we can extend this line on line 8 further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce creating a custom health check. And this health check is somewhat contrived because it's basically a health check that's going to use the random keywords so we can show the various states of health, even though the actual site itself is healthy. So it will sort of, based on how long a random whatever a random number is, it will perform some sort of conditional logic to decide if it is healthy, unhealthy or degraded. So let's have a go at doing that. So what I'm going to do, just for neatness, is I'm going to create a new solution folder, and I'm going to call this shared. So you can imagine in your finished project you may have a set of custom health checks that you could apply to many websites, so you could write them into a class library. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go add new project, and I'm going to search for class library, and this one at the top is fine, and I'm going to call this my checks. .NET 7 is fine for this example, and we can get rid of this dummy class. Then what we need to do is, in our class library, we need the same NuGet packages as we put in our website. So a quick way of doing that, rather than having to go through the package manager, is to click on the website. This will open up the project.cs file, and we can just copy this entry here, go back into my checks project and paste them into there. And when we save that, we'll see down the bottom it's saying restoring packages, so it's brought those packages in as well. So the next thing to do is to actually create a class that will be our custom health check. So let's right click and go add class, and I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call this fake speed check. So based on that, I'm going to change this to public. I may change the namespace as well. There we go. And this needs to inherit from something called iHealthCheck. So if we control dot, that will bring in the using statement, and then if we control dot, that will get an implementation of the interface. And we have to implement one method called check health async, and this is the thing that will return back if, for this particular check that you're performing, if it is healthy, unhealthy or degraded. So like I said, you can create as many of these as you like. I'm, in this example, going to create a fake speed check, which is completely contrived, but you can imagine there could be a database check. Can I connect to the underlying database? A Redis check, a file system check, and so on, as many as you like, and then you can chain them together in your program.cs file. So let's implement this now. So first I'm going to do a private random and call this new random, And this is the thing that's going to allow us to see different error messages. So like I said, this line here enables us to contrive the various states of health of our health check on our website. So if we go down into the actual method and start implementing, let's say var time in milliseconds equals random.next between 1 and 501, so between 1 and 500 milliseconds. And then we're going to say if, let's correct the spelling, if time in milliseconds is less than 200, we're going to return task.from result health check result dot healthy. So basically we're saying if the time in milliseconds is less than 200 milliseconds, we're saying the website is healthy. And we can also supply a string message in here, very quick response, and we can put the response in the message, response time in the message, there we go. And then we can add an else if time in milliseconds is less than 300, we can say, let's lift this line, we can say health check result dot, and this time if we remove this we can go dot degraded. So degraded is saying it's working but it's slower. And then finally we can have a final else statement where we can say, we can lift that line that we had before again and we can say unhealthy. Okay, and that is our fake health check. Okay, so we can now go off, save this. Let's just do a build first of all, check everything builds successfully. And what we can do is in our MVC website, we can add a reference to our My Checks class library. So if we open this out, right click on dependencies and go add project reference and include My Checks. So now we're ready to wire up our fake health check into our middleware pipeline. So we can do that by going back to Program CS and we can start to configure that. So how we do that is as follows. We come up to this line here where we add our health checks. So at the moment our health checks just use the one that comes sort of built in, the ping. So we can just get rid of the semicolon, on a new line go dot add check, and then it wants to know the type of check, so we will say it is a fake speed check. And control dot to bring this in, and then we open brackets and we can give this a nice user-friendly name, so we can call this speed test, and then it needs a default, and the default will be null, and the default of null means I couldn't run the check at all, so basically null means unhealthy. That's what that basically means. Then finally, we can supply an array, and the array is so we can produce useful tags that a monitoring system can filter things out by tags. So we could say that this particular check is a speed test, and you can separate them by as many as you like. So you say that this was also, I don't know, a database test and a caching test and so on. So you can have as many of these as you like. None of those are appropriate apart from the speed one in this instance. And that's added our check in. And we can just carry on chaining these together with, if we had another check, which we haven't, we could just add that in, fake 2 test, and exactly the same. But for now, that should be enough to demonstrate what we mean. So we should be able to run this up again, and this time we should get some different results, as last time it was all showing healthy. So let's press F5. Hit our endpoint, which is /health. And you can see the status is healthy. You can see based on that, these are all the different checks that it ran to come to the conclusion it was healthy. So we've only got one check, and it's the speed test, and its description that came back, very quick response, only took 159 milliseconds, and it was tagged as a speed check. If we F5 on this, all of a sudden we get degraded. Still based on the speed test, but this time it took longer than 200 seconds, so hence it's degraded. It's come back with a different message saying working but slowly, and it's still got the tags of speed. And let's just see if we can get an unhealthy. There's a healthy, there we go, an unhealthy, very slow, 336 milliseconds. So you can see this is us just simulating the various things through using a random. Now let's close this. So if we had a series of checks in here, what would happen is the overall so say this check returned healthy, then our next check underneath returned unhealthy, and then our next check after that returned healthy, so doing different things. The overall health of the website would be classed unhealthy. It takes the most pessimistic result and uses it as the overall health check status. Again, you can filter that based on having different endpoints that only look at certain tags, but we won't show that in this example. So that's showing our health of our site. So at the moment we have to go to that request to pull the information using /health, and it's not in a very readable format. It is in JSON, so wouldn't it be nice if there was a quick way of producing a dashboard, because you may be in a business that has several websites and you want one place where you can monitor the health of all of them, and you can do that as follows. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a brand new website, and it doesn't really matter what we create this in. Again, I might just create it as an MVC one just for simplicity. By the way, all this health checks will also work with web APIs, not just front-end websites. And I'm going to call this the monitor. I'm going to go next. .NET 7 is fine. We can leave all the other settings, go create. So we've got our website, our monitor website, and now what we need to do is bring in some NuGet packages again. So let's just So we need the same ones as we've used before. So I'll copy those. Let's go into monitor, go down to here, and we need a closing tag on that, which is item group. So that will, if I just save that, that will bring in again down the bottom, we'll see restoring NuGet packages. We need one other NuGet package as well, and I shall just copy and paste this one in. But you can go off to the NuGet package window and also search for this, but I'm just going to do it this way this time. And this one is aspnetcore.healthchecks.ui.inmemory storage. So what the dashboard can do is it can record all the health check statuses that have happened, and you can swap out in memory for a SQL database if you want to persist these, but for this demonstration I'm just going to put them into memory. So if we just save this, that has added our NuGet packages. So the next stage is to go into the program CS for the monitor. So let's go into here, and again we need to add some things into the monitors pipeline, and the first thing we need to add is the following: builder dot services dot add health check UI, this time open close brackets, dot add in memory storage, like that. Let's just save this and see what happens at this stage. There's our website, and that's about all we can do at this stage. We need to configure a little bit more. So the next stage will be to configure our dashboard so it knows which websites to go and check to monitor. So we'll do that next. So let's configure our dashboard monitor so it can look at various websites to see what state their health is in. So we've added in this line. Let's continue on with the configuration. There's one more bit we need to add into the program CS, and that is down here on this line. We need to add in app dot map health checks UI, and that's it. And there's one bit left that we need to do, and that is to add some settings into the monitors ASP app settings.json file. So what we need to do here is after the allow hosts we hit a comma, and then we type in health checks UI colon curly brace, and then we want an array, so we put that in square brackets, hit return, and then inside the array will be each of the websites that we want to monitor. So we do that with a curly brace, and then we need a name of the website, and I'm going to call this one MVC website. And then the other piece of information it needs for each website is the actual address, URI, and that is, and we can go and get that information by going to the MVC website, go to the launch settings, and it's going to run on localhost, and it's going to run on this port number 44390. So we can close this again and type this into here, http //localhost :44390 / and then the health endpoint, which is health. And that's all we need to do there. And if we were adding in more websites, we would just put a colon, and then we would just copy and paste, and whatever that site may be and its address, as I'm running everything on my local machine. This is localhost, but this would get changed to your production URL. But at the moment we've only got the one website, so we'll just take this back out. There we go, and we've got one last bit to add in after the square bracket. So if we do comma, we want 2 more settings. We want evaluation time in seconds, and I'm going to set this to 5, and then one more, which is minimum seconds between failure notification, and I'm going to set that to 60. Let me explain what these two are. So the dashboard or monitor website will go and basically poll every website that's in this list here every 5 seconds to check its health. If a site comes back and it is unhealthy, rather than every 5 seconds just report back it's unhealthy again, it won't try to update the status of a given website until this time has fulfilled the minimum seconds between failure notifications. So as soon as we fail, we're not going to try it again for another 60 seconds because we know it's down anyway, so we're just going to wait a bit longer. So that's what that's going to do, and that's our configuration done. So you can see we haven't written any HTML at all in order to create our dashboard. The next thing we need to do is we'll need to, on my machine at least, we will need to set the startup projects, and we need the website that we're testing the health for to be running, and also the dashboard or monitor. So what I've already done is I've right-clicked properties, selected multiple startup projects, and I've said when I hit start, I want both the monitor and the MVC website to start, please. So if I go OK and press start, and then I need to adjust my screen so we can see both applications. Filter load configuration file demo. So I've got an error in my JSON which I just need to correct. So let me just do that. Yes, I know what I've done. Just here, this should say health checks colon. Yes, there's a little bit more nesting. So let me just show you that. So within health check UI, there is a node called health checks. That is an array that has a list of each of the websites that we want to check. Then we have the how often it's going to poll each of those websites, and then how often it's going to re-poll those websites in the event of it being unhealthy. So hopefully this time we've got everything we need. So I've set both projects to run. So let's start them up and see what we get. So here is my monitor, and just to show you, I've also got the MVC website. So this is the site that we're checking, and we can still go off and hit it directly by going health, and there's the current health. but we're not going to do that. We're going to see what the health is like via a nice UI on our dashboard. So we can drag this out the way because we don't need it, and we can go over to here and we can go /health checks -UI, and we get this nice UI that we haven't actually written at all. It comes out of the box, and you can see it has a list of all our current websites that are being monitored, of which at the moment there is only one, and it is called MVC website. And this is set to poll every 5 seconds, and it will update when it gets any changes. So let's just wait. There we go. So that's just updated, and it's come up with its health is unhealthy, and that's because at the moment it can't connect. So I've also done something else wrong somewhere. So let me just, I think I've got the wrong address. So that's good because that's showing that it doesn't think my site's healthy. So let's just stop. And what I need to do is let's just fire up the MVC website on its own. And if we manually go to the endpoint, the health endpoint, this is the address I need. So I'm just going to copy this out, go back to the monitor and go back to app settings, and this needs correcting. So I'm just going to overwrite that one. And if we spin them both up again this time, hopefully we should get some more meaningful information on our dashboard. So again, here's our dashboard or monitor. Here's our MVC website, which, like I said, we can hit the health endpoint directly like that. We can drag this out the way. We don't need to see that. We can now go to the UI, which is health check UI. This pops up. Let's expand this out. There we go. So this is set at the moment to poll every 5 seconds. So there we go. That's just upgraded again, and this time it's changed to degraded. Now it's unhealthy. Hopefully we'll get a healthy in a minute as well. Degraded, unhealthy, degraded. Still haven't had a healthy yet, but you're getting the idea that this is updating. It's polling every 5 seconds, and it's put a bit, there we go, healthy this time, and it's put the name of our test, speed test. It's identified any tags that exist with this particular health check. It's given us an overall status, and it's given us a description. And over here, we can see all the history that's happened. So every 5 seconds, we'll get a new entry in here. This doesn't update until you close it and reopen it. Like that, so that's quite good. And you can imagine now, if you were a company with several websites, you'd have a whole list of all your other websites down here, and you'd have one dashboard that you could see the overall health of all of your systems. There we go. So that's a useful thing that comes out the box. It also has the ability as well to use webhooks, so you can hook this into some of your messaging systems like Teams or Slack. So it can send notifications out as well. So a useful dashboard without having to do much work. So that's the end of this video. I'm the Hawaiian Shirt Coder, and remember, keep learning, keep exploring, keep developing, and I'll see you next time.